Well, certainly glad it's Friday, albeit the 13th. Thanks for tuning in and spending a little time with us. A lot of ground to cover this evening. We'll talk about the proposed and first approved hike for the occupational tax in the city limits of Paintsville and coverage of their regular session meeting earlier this week. And I have some developments in regards to all three appeals as they relate to the ongoing lawsuit on behalf of what originated as John Montgomery versus McGoffin County Judge Executive Charles Hardin and the McGoffin County Board of Elections. I have some information released by the Kentucky Court of Appeals earlier today. And we'll talk about basketball, not so much Kentucky as the world knows what's going on there. But maybe everyone that's not an Eagle fan or Lady Eagle fan might not know where they're at this hour. An update there on your forecast and a whole lot to talk about on our community calendars. Sadly, a great deal of obituaries to pass along to you as well. Weather-wise, I've got some good news. The forecast as a whole has improved. We're still under a flood watch for a low-pressure system, bringing more potentially excessive rainfall throughout tomorrow afternoon, especially for northern parts of Kentucky and eastern Kentucky too, but we're getting out of the real heavy stuff, I think. It remains in effect, like I said, through tomorrow afternoon, 1 to 2 inches of rainfall for the viewing area. That's in its entirety for this rain event between now and tomorrow evening. Looks to be a good bet. Folks in central northern Kentucky may pick up a little bit more than that even. I have in my hand a 72-degree sunny day in your forecast. That's enough of a teaser on that subject. We'll get to more on that in a moment. From your McGoffin County Senior Citizen Center, a couple of announcements. First off, a reminder, or an announcement, this is the first time I've mentioned it. The Big Sandy Senior Games are going to be held on May the 15th, their 30th annual event over at Dewey Lake in the downstream area. And a whole lot of games, bowling, mile walk, football toss, softball toss, the list does indeed go on. And it is May the 15th. We'll be talking about it a little later on, but I've been asked to pass it along to our seniors out there so you can pass it along to your calendar. And if you have any questions or need a registration form, I've got a number. I'll have it on the screen for you in a few days, but it's 800-737-2723. It's a $12 fee. It must be received by April 10th. So like I said, I'll forward that on over to the community calendar, and you'll have it on there in a few days. On a serious note, though, from Marlene Howard, director of the McGoffin County Senior Citizen Center, another scam targeting our seniors. It seemed like there's a scam of some sort at all times targeting some or anyone. This time, Marlene Howard tells me that she was notified, originally notification from the Kentucky River AAAIL, that a person is contacting seniors and senior centers, identifying him or herself as being a person with the Division of Aging, and asking to verify information so they can provide a life alert system which the Division of Aging will pay for. It's a scam, start to finish. If you have received a call, please notify your senior center and, of course, local authorities as well. They are reporting the scam at this time to the Attorney General's office, but they're trying to figure out how far-reaching it is. If you've received any such call, and, of course, anytime you receive a call that you think may be a scam, call local authorities or the appropriate organization. In this case, though, they hope you will call your Senior Citizen Center if you received anything like that via telephone call or other solicitation as of late. The Paintsville City Council met in regular session earlier this week. Several items on the agenda. The majority of the discussion centered around the proposed and ultimately passed hike in the occupational tax. The discussion began with Paintsville Mayor Bob Porter giving a brief description of Paintsville's economic history and future and need to generate more revenue.
We've been talking about financial issues here at the city, and we still do that. There have been I guess, comments made that maybe we weren't we were spending money unnecessarily or something to that effect. But let me give you some recent facts. In the last 5 years, we've reduced our workforce by 9. That's while the ambulance service has actually increased its workforce, but even though they have increased, we've had a net reduction of of 9 positions. We've eliminated 1 position from administration, and we've dropped 1 full-time worker to part-time. Sanitation and street have 3 less employees. Police have 1 less. Most recently, we've actually moved from a high number of police officers of 15, where we now have 10 full-time officers. We've eliminated 3 positions at the recreation center, 2 at the TV station, 1 layoff that recently occurred, and we have eliminated 1 part-time person at the recreation center. At the golf course, we've eliminated 2 seasonal maintenance employees, and we operate at the golf course with 3 full-time employees. We've reduced our long-term debt over the last 5 years from $516,000 down to $233,000. Y'all may know all this, but I want to tell you anyway. Out of a budget, city budget is $5,783,000. 75% of that budget is for people and people-related expenses. You put fuel, liability insurance, utilities, and telephone on top of that, and we've used fully 90% of our budget. You add, which left us about $500,000 available for everything else we spend. And just in one department, I mentioned the ambulance department, $194,500 of that goes for the billing service, the medicine and supplies, the vehicle repairs, and the debt service on the ambulances. So now we're down to about $300,000 to cover every expense we've got in the city, other than the ones I've mentioned. And there are many of them. And to me, that just says that y'all don't have a lot of money to work with.
Porter said that they had been looking at additional cuts to make, some tourism revenue possibly in the future, and every possible way to save money and to be able to pay off debts and not have any more late fees associated with them. In doing so, he appointed a finance committee of 3 council members to try to find a solution. They also said that some vendors have been owed more than 14 months or a roundabout without being paid, and they can't cut into that 75% or the employees any further without reducing services. And they need to come up with some $500,000 to $600,000 in pretty quick fashion. And the only option was to raise the occupational tax and not property taxes.
Discussion to it, but I make the motion that, as difficult as it is for me to make, is that we go ahead and look at, or I make the motion that we go ahead and raise the occupational tax 0.25% for a 2-year period. We also, during this period of time, this will not, as the old saying goes, this won't get our feet out of the fire, but this will maybe take some of the heat away. And we're going to look at every possible avenue that we can, whether it's selling city properties, whether it is working with some other tourism, as the mayor said, to take some of the expenses off our hands. But this will at least get us to a position that we can run this city as I think the citizens of Painesville want it run. So I make that motion.
And I second that motion.
That was Councilman Sean Thompson. He was a member of the committee appointed by the mayor to try to find a solution for the situation. The increase, he said, of 0.25% would raise about $362,000 a year. Councilman Jim Meek objected to placing all the money in the general fund and wanted it to be placed in a separate fund to where it would be designated for just paying back this debt, as the purpose of it was indicated. Councilwoman Sarah Blair also supported that notion. A little later in more discussion, Thompson later made a motion for the city to borrow $500,000 to pay off the debts with the proceeds from that tax increase, and to borrow that money possibly, said the mayor, from a bank with a competing interest rate or from the Paintsville Utilities.
How much money will it raise?
So on the average, and this is according to
There were some residents in the audience which voiced their displeasure with the situation, saying that things were just tight enough and that more taxes will just be more of a burden on them. There was continued discussion on the matter, but it was a vote to approve the increase, which will require a second reading to officially raise the occupational tax by 0.25% in the Paintsville city limits. A couple of other things that happened during the meeting. In Mayor's announcements, he mentioned that the Historic Sip Theater will be pretty busy from April the 24th through May the 1st, the spring season of Main Street Players. They're presenting Dorothy and Wonderland, cast of 32. The Death of Floyd Collins, a movie they've had to postpone due to the bad weather, is going to be presented May the 8th. Spring Flings in downtown Paintsville, May the 16th. Also, he reminded everyone about the customer service training hosted by EKU that's been moved to March the 26th. They did change their meeting time, I think, to the third Monday of the month. I don't have that in front of me. I'll verify that, and of course we'll be covering the meetings for you as well. From there, a brief break, more local headlines next. To get high-speed internet on their state-of-the-art fiber optic network for all of your home and business solutions, or to watch TV without a contract on over 200 digital channels with superb quality, or stay connected with family and friends with 24/7 telephone service you can always depend on, contact Foothills Broadband today. Or just click on their link to the right to find out how they're working to provide the latest in communications at affordable prices with exceptional service at Foothills Broadband. The ongoing civil suit as it relates to the November election for McGoffin County Judge Executive here in McGoffin County was just late last week, and it was that all parties involved had filed an appeal of some sorts. The first to file was McGoffin County Judge Executive, appealing the decision by Special Appointed Judge John David Preston to vacate Hardin's office and declare the Judge Executive's race null and void, basically saying that it was an unfair election and that there was no winner. McGoffin County Board of Elections in and of themselves soon followed suit, as did John Montgomery, who filed a cross appeal in the case asking for Preston to appeal his decision and declare Montgomery the winner. All those appeals have been presented before the Kentucky State Court of Appeals, and there has since been some decision made in regards to as to when those appeals will be heard, and then a timeline that will follow. So appeals for all three of those parties were received and recorded on the second day of March with the Kentucky Court of Appeals. As of yesterday, there has been an order setting a briefing schedule. The Court of Appeals says the court has ordered that the following briefing schedule be observed. They receive 5 copies of simultaneous briefs for each of the appellants and the cross-appellant, who is Montgomery, and that none of those should exceed 25 pages in length. They shall be filed no later than 20 days from the date of the entry of this order. So 20 days from yesterday, all three parties must have their appeals in order and filed with the Kentucky Court of Appeals. Now, from what I understand, from the date of the entry, that is 20 days from yesterday, no other pleadings shall be filed without leave of the court. It also states that upon receipt of those briefs for the appellant and the cross-appellants, or the expiration of the time set out above, the appeal shall be immediately submitted to a 3-judge panel of this court for resolution. So, long-term, 20 days from yesterday, the appeals will be presented before a special appointed 3-panel or 3-judge panel of the Court of Appeals to be heard, and that they will render their decision swiftly as it pertains to each of those 3 appeals. It also means that should those appeals be filed within 30 to 20 days or before, that is a possibility that may expedite the process. But at length, at the longest possible date, 20 days from yesterday before, those appeals will be presented before a 3-judge panel for their consideration on each of the appeals thereafter. couple of things I had typed in the calendar and had a couple of issues with electronically that are no longer coming before you in just a few seconds. The Magafa County Board of ASAP is having their quarterly meeting this coming Monday, 6 o'clock in the Magafa County Health Department. The Teen Coalition meets this Wednesday at 1, and the Safe Coalition will meet Wednesday at 1 as well, all in the Magafa County Health Department. I'll remind you next week, but Wednesday is the stand down for veterans, homeless veterans, that is, in Pikeville, with a lot of offerings, health screenings, haircuts, dental screenings, and a lot of other services and referrals. I'll have time to remind you about that early next week, as well as I will a few other announcements. For now, here's the rest of announcements on tonight's McGoffin Farm Bureau sponsored calendar, including a happy 32nd birthday wish to son-in-law Wendell Brooks. It says, love your in-laws and your wife. He's 32 today. Wendell Brooks. And I have J.R. Keaton on there, which was a birthday that came up yesterday. This was one of those glitches that I had when the system shut down on me a while ago. So my apologies, Wendell Brooks. Your name was supposed to be up there. J.R. Keaton had a birthday yesterday and is now 27 and a day old. Today is Wendell Brooks' birthday, and a lot of love from your in-laws and your wife. It says, happy birthday to you. A reminder that the Kearney Free Will Baptist Church is showing Fireproof tomorrow night at 6. Come and join them. This is a fun, free, family, fellowship-filled event. A reminder about the household shower held at the Sayersville Fire Department this Sunday at 2 for Steve and Tanika Reisner and their newborn baby, 3 months, newborn to me. And, of course, the Reisners lost everything they have except for the clothing on their backs in a structure fire just a few days ago, and everyone has put together a household shower for them Sunday at 2 at the fire department. Also Sunday at 2:30 to 4:30, the Sayersville Subway is hosting the Magafa County Youth Baseball and Softball Organization for another round of sign-ups, and there's not going to be too many rounds left, so make sure you get your name on there for yourself or for your children. Season will be seeing the first pitch before you know it. And we'd love to see your announcement here in the program, birthday, anniversary, or otherwise. All you have to do is send it in. In funeral service announcements from the Magafa County Funeral Home, services are going to be held for 45-year-old Glenn Phillip Cantrell of Jellicoe Road, who passed away on Wednesday. Besides his parents, he's also survived by brothers Donald Ray and Archie J. and sisters Teresa Lynn Stapleton and Lisa Willis. Visitation is this evening and any time prior to services, which will start tomorrow at 1 in his honor. Visitation and services from the Flat Fork Free Will Baptist Church, burial afterwards at the Lacey Creek Cemetery, while the Magafa County Funeral Home is in charge of arrangements. He's also, of course, survived by his parents, Archie Cantrell and Sarah Jane Sloan. 77-year-old Arthur Sam Smith, Jr. of Old Burning Fork Road passed away on the 10th. He was married to Paula Randolph Smith, who survives. Also surviving are daughters Tommy Norman and Terry Varela. Visitation is this evening, and up until services, they'll start at 2 o'clock tomorrow from the New Bethel Assembly Church of God. Burial is going to be at the Branham Cemetery, Family Cemetery in Floyd County, the Magafa County Funeral Home in charge of arrangements. That's for 77-year-old Arthur Sam Smith, Jr. 79-year-old William Howard of Sayersville passed away on Thursday, married to Audra Bryant Howard, who preceded him in death. He is survived by sons William Earl, Jimmy Lee, and Stephen Ray. Visitation is going to be after 5 o'clock Saturday and any time prior to services. They'll begin Sunday afternoon at 1. Visitation and services from the Magafa County Funeral Home, with burial afterwards at the Morrow Cemetery at Morrow, Ohio. In services, burial services, that is, will take place on Monday. 77-year-old Dave Bailey of Royalton passed away yesterday. He's survived by his wife, Joan Patrick Bailey, a daughter, Dora Jane Bailey, and sons John David, Joe Dale, Samuel, and Robert Ray Bailey. Visitation is going to be after 7 o'clock tomorrow evening and any time prior to services. They'll be Sunday at 2 at the Sayersville Funeral Home. Burial is going to be at the Bailey Family Cemetery at Higgins Branch in the Royalton area. Once again, Dave Bailey, at the age of 77, passing away. Services to be held Sunday at 2. Visitation the night before. 36-year-old James Donnie Hall of Buffalo Creek Road passed away on the 11th, the son of Donnie Hall and Glenda May. And besides his parents, he's survived by his wife, Mary Collinsworth Hall, son Jamie Dalton Hall, and daughters Jaden Elsie and Jocelyn Danielle Hall. Visitation is this evening, all day tomorrow, prior to services, Sunday morning at 11. Visitation and services from the Magafa County Funeral Home and burial afterwards at the mouth of Buffalo Cemetery. A reminder that services for Betty Lou Carpenter of East Maple Street are going to be held Tuesday of next week. Those services will be held Tuesday at 2 at the Magoffin County Funeral Home. And one last announcement, we're also saddened to hear the passing this evening of William Littleboy Lovely, who passed away at the age of 80 on today's date. Arrangements are still being made by the family, but to be announced soon by the Magoffin County Funeral Home. You can go to MagoffinCountyFuneralHome.com over the weekend to find out more about arrangements for Little Boy. I'll be right back. To get high-speed internet on their state-of-the-art fiber optic network for all of your home and business solutions, or to watch TV without a contract on over 200 digital channels with superb quality, or stay connected with family and friends with 24/7 telephone service you can always depend on, contact Foothills Broadband today. Or just click on their link to the right to find out how they're working to provide the latest in communications at affordable prices with exceptional service at Foothills Broadband. Well, everyone's well aware that UK put down the Gators for the third time in a row. What you might not know, unless you're Lady Eagle fans, that they're rolling on to the next round at 6:30 tonight after a big win, a comeback win against Letcher County. Definitely some irony and excitement surrounding the Lady Eagles' first-round victory over Letcher County. A layup by Bailey Daniel with about 5 seconds left gave them a 62-60 win in the first round of the Sweet 16. In the season opener for both these teams, it was Johnson Central and Letcher County, and a last-second shot by Central put them over top by 2, 53-51. So, like I said, a little irony to say the least. Now, that takes them on to face Mason County 6:30 tonight in the second round. A big night. The Lady Eagles going for their second win in the Sweet 16 tip-off, once again set for 6:30 against Mason County. The 2015 Boys Sweet 16 doesn't get started for a couple of days. Actually, next week, Johnson Central will be taking on Ballard next Thursday. The first round will be Wednesday of next week. Several games, but Johnson Central won't play until next Thursday at noon, taking on Ballard. We'll be keeping you up to date on both of our area teams in the Sweet 16. And to wrap it all up this evening and week with your Licking Valley RECC forecast, we'll put a lid on it tonight, talking about lows around 55 degrees. Keep in mind, we're at 52, 53, but we're not going lower. We're going to hang tough or maybe even see a degree or two for nighttime lows increase. Steady temperatures right around 53, 54, 55. South-southeast winds all 3 to 5 miles per hour. Also the possibility of picking up another 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of rainfall tonight. Some steady showers continuing throughout the overnight, and we'll see that trend throughout your first half of the weekend, sadly. With 60 degrees, another quarter to, well, that's supposed to say 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch again tomorrow, or to a 1/2 on your Saturday, I'm sorry, instead of 1/4 to 1/4. You get the drift. Some more light rain tomorrow, 60 degrees for your high, 36 for your low. Still some southwest winds, 3 to 5 miles per hour. Rain likely up until about 9 o'clock, and then we'll start to see just cloudy skies thereafter, and then clearing. And check out Sunday, 62 and sunny, clear skies late. Monday, I have 72 degrees and full sunshine above. Haven't said the word hooky for a while, but man, I'm feeling it. But I'll be here with you then. For now, hope you have a wonderful weekend. Go Cats. We'll see you back here next week. Good night, and thank you for watching.